Kepedulian menjadi kunci setiap manusia untuk hidup sejahtera secara berdampingan, terlebih bagi mereka yang memiliki kebutuhan khusus, seperti anak-anak dengan Down syndrome. Support yang tepat justru dapat menjadi cara untuk memberdayakan kreativitas para generasi dengan talenta khusus ini. Insight akan membahasnya bersama saya, Desi Anwar.
Penyandang Down syndrome sering mendapat stigma negatif dari masyarakat. Mereka sering mendapat perlakuan berbeda, mulai dari perilaku diskriminasi, dipandang sebelah mata, bahkan hingga diabaikan oleh lingkungan sekitar. Down syndrome adalah kelainan genetik yang menyebabkan penyandangnya memiliki perbedaan kemampuan belajar dan kelainan fisik yang serupa. Hal ini dapat terjadi akibat munculnya kromosom ekstra pada kromosom 21 di tubuh penyandangnya. Inilah yang membuat Charis Miharja, seorang remaja berusia 17 tahun yang mempunyai tekad kuat untuk menghapus stigma negatif dan perlakuan diskriminatif terhadap penyandang Down syndrome melalui organisasi @charis.cares. Melalui Charis Cares, Charis ingin menghapus pandangan bahwa penyandang Down syndrome tidak bisa memiliki kehidupan yang normal. Dengan dukungan yang tepat, Charis ingin membuktikan bahwa anak-anak penyandang Down syndrome ini dapat menjadi bagian dari masyarakat seutuhnya dan bisa mengembangkan bakat dan prestasi mereka sebagaimana yang dilakukan oleh anak-anak lainnya.
Tidak ada kata terlalu cepat atau terlambat untuk memulai sesuatu yang berdampak pada kesejahteraan masyarakat. Kali ini Insight akan berbincang dengan sosok yang masih sangat muda namun menginspirasi. Sejak usia 14 tahun, founder organisasi nirlaba Charis Cares ini begitu peduli pada teman-teman Down syndrome dan tentu saja membawa manfaat untuk orang-orang di sekitarnya. Saat ini saya sudah ditemani gadis muda berjiwa sosial tinggi, Charis Miharja. Hai Charis, apa kabar?
Hi Jo, I'm so good. Thank you for having us.
Dan Charis ini mungkin lebih enak kita bicara dalam bahasa Inggris ya.
Yes.
Nah, Charis ini luar biasa. Saat ini usianya masih 17 tahun ya, tapi sudah mendapatkan 3 award tahun ini saja, mendapatkan Diana Awards tahun 2021 dan juga APEC Best Award 2020 for Social Impact on Society ini pada tahun 2020 kemarin, dan Woman of the Year dari Her World Indonesia. Luar biasa. Congratulations for your work. Very appreciated, very recognized, and this is why I love doing my job, meeting young people, inspirational, and who can be role models for all of us.
Thank you so much. I'm in front of one of my role models right now, so it's a huge blessing to be here.
Now, Charis, since you were 14, you have, been working with Down syndrome friends, and you've done wonderful things. You've founded a foundation with your name. Tell me a little bit about how did it start and why, who encouraged you, and just where is it going at the moment?
Yes. So I feel like a lot of stories, success stories, often oversimplify. Like they think there's this eureka moment and everything changed, right? But definitely for me, it was more organic. So starting from a very young age, like 1-year-old, my family have always inculcated a very strong social value for others. And so I'd celebrate my first year old like birthdays and orphanages, and they don't coerce that. They in fact introduce this sacrificial compromise. So I had to pick do you want to celebrate and splurge with your friends, for your 13th birthday, or would you rather donate that money for, people in orphanages, your other friends who's like marginalized communities? And so I think starting from there, I've always battled, and it's not always been an easy choice, right? But I've always realized how we have to prioritize in life, and how for me that just naturally made me realize I have been given like so much blessings, and giving just a fraction of it, trying my best to help others is the way to go. And I feel a guilt if I don't do that, because I
So
feel
your
like,
birthday is normally celebrated by giving. Give us examples of some of the things that you did. This is before having
Yeah.
your own foundation.
So we'd go to either refugee center, like in help center in Tibet, or we'd go to orphanages in Punchak to just celebrate with them, sing songs, eat cake, donate rice, brass, and or not during the pandemic. We'd go in cars to help give sambako to the people on the streets. And I see it not only in like birthdays, but it's always been channeled every single day. Even this morning, my grandma was scooping out rice to make lunch boxes and meals to give as like sambako. And so just being surrounded by really strong women figures, especially who want to do something for more than just themselves, have just naturally encouraged me to do the
So
same.
this is something that your families, your surroundings have always done, and not something that they're forcing you to do, but you are, encouraged to do that. Or how did you feel about it? I mean, because I know as you're growing up and when you're kids, sometimes it's nice to just go out with friends, splurge, getting lots of presents. But here you are, already with such concern about the people around you who have less, who are not as fortunate as you.
Yes, so it's not realistic to say, or I wouldn't even embody myself as Mother Teresa, far from it. But definitely when I was like 11 years old, I grappled with this. I really wanted that toy, that American doll. I really wanted to spend, birthdays and splurge in water bombs. But then comparing it to what's happening and unfolding out there, especially in Indonesia, as we're still developing,
Yeah.
so many problems encircles us, right? And most of them centers around like social problems. And just to really put it in a comparison, is that American doll, that one doll can feed 100 families. Is it worth it? So that just really counterbalanced, and I think naturally I had not only at first it wasn't forced, but it just felt like the natural tendency to do it, just consciousness. And until now, I think just continually practicing that have really enculturated it like deep down inside. But
This is amazing, because I mean it shows you're such an old soul.
I am.
And of course, as you say, there's so many people around us who need our help, and the people with a lot less, and also poverty is still very much an issue in this country. But there's some Down syndrome. Of course, this is something that is still very much somehow of a stigma a little bit attached to it here in Indonesia. And how did you get into caring for our friends, our children, our relatives who have Down syndrome, and why did you decide to focus particularly on this issue, Charis?
So much of it is attributed to so my mom was invited to this event by Yayasan Potats, Persatuan Orang Tua Anak Down Syndrome. But particularly that day, during the commemoration of World Down Syndrome Day, she fell ill, right?
Okay.
And so I think it's God sent, really. I entered her room as she was unfortunately saying that she regretfully couldn't attend it. And I was
And
like,
this is when?
when
How old were you?
2017, so
you
a
was-
couple years back,
Yeah.
when I was 13. And I was like, oh, I'm free, why not I replace you? I take your spot. And so I did. And again, very organically, I fell in love with the children. They were just so spirited, so excited of life. And it was in contrast of what a lot of people portray Down syndrome individuals as, gloomy. A lot of people connotate them as down, always feeling down because of the name itself. where they don't know that the Down syndrome name is because the founder, Langdon Down, it was named after him. And so I think naturally after that, I started to volunteer in the organization. And my mom also told me a story. So she grew up in Australia and she worked in KFC during her college years. One of her co-workers, Corey, he was receiving equal pay, receiving the career opportunity.
And
to
he had
work.
Down syndrome.
Yeah, he has Down syndrome. He received equal pay, equal opportunities. The customers treated him so well. And so I compared that to our current situation in Indonesia. I've never seen individuals with Down syndrome in the actual workforce, integrated professionally, not only in charity cases or once a year, right? But I don't see them in our lives, in everyday lives. And so there must be a problem with that. And even while speaking about it at first, I was hesitant. Because I felt like it was such a taboo topic to talk about Down syndrome, right? Do you want to talk about it? And while talking about it, you're implying that they're different, or are you going to keep silent? But I realized that silence is never the answer, and so that was really the starting.
So that was the beginning.
Yes.
That's a great story, but we'll take a little break. I mean, we've still got a way to go in this conversation, so we are very much interested to see how and what it is that you're doing with your foundation, and of course how we can all help you and support you in all your efforts. Jadi tetaplah bersama kami dalam Insight with Desi Anwar. Kami akan segera kembali. Masih bersama Insight with Desi Anwar, saya juga masih ditemani oleh seorang anak muda yang sangat menginspirasi ya, Charis Miharja, yang memiliki kepedulian yang luar biasa terhadap teman-teman dengan Down syndrome. Charis memiliki sebuah organisasi nirlaba @Charis Care ya, yang mungkin bisa cerita sekarang ya lebih lanjut apa-apa saja yang membuat Charis itu memulai suatu gerakan ini, gerakan yang sangat penting karena tidak terlalu banyak dari kita yang mungkin memahami atau ya terlalu mengetahui apa sih sebenarnya Down syndrome ini. So, Charis, after your initial involvement with Down syndrome children or people, I mean, so what happened? What was it? You were 13-year-old. So what came to your mind? And what was it that basically made you start this movement?
Yes, so the idea of Charis Cares was actually started far before our establishment, and it was when I wanted to connect with volunteer opportunities to, connect with our friends with Down syndrome. And there was a lack of opportunities. Even I love and respect our partnership with Yayasan Potats, but we do have to acknowledge that the very nature of the organization is it centers more on the parents. So Yayasan Potats is a group of, it's an internal group.
Persatuan Orang Tua.
Yeah.
So it's just for the parents,
For
by
the parents.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was still predominantly occupied by friends with Down syndrome and their families. And there were little to no opportunities for outsiders who want to come in and help, right? And so that just, the demand of it calls for me to supply it. And so that was what started, I had this mission to largen that circle. So not just, we can't truly grow and fix the stigma if we're only focusing with ourselves. We have to address and bring it to enlargen the battlefield with the people who's the cause of the stigma, which is the entire public, right?
Yeah, the society, the
Yes,
community.
exactly. So
Because of lack of understanding, a lot of it.
So we wanted to enlarge in that circle. And so I started with fundraising ideas. There's this painted image of like a girl selling lemonade or what, right? And so I tried to start my fundraising efforts, but I realized that there's this saying, you don't give the fisherman the fish, you give them
the
yes.
the fishing rod so they can fish.
Yeah.
So okay, so let me. Who did you sort of get together to start off this? And when you said fundraising, did you have, ideas of what to do with the funds? And also, how many of the Down syndrome, friends or that you got together to actually, in the end, create this kind of movement?
Yeah, so the fundraising idea was just me trying to cultivate my skills and, sharing that, selling that so we can get the funds to support them with medical bills and therapy. But I realized again that's a very non-sustainable effort, right?
So in the beginning, you were doing what were you doing in order to fundraise?
Yes, I was just like writing letters and as freelance, like sharing it, and I also sold some of the craft that I made myself. But again, that's not I collected recess money, ang pao money, and that didn't.
Do you remember how much your first fundraising effort was?
Yeah, so it was a humble 17 million rupiah,
Well, that's not very
but
small.
over like a year.
Not
but
bad for your first effort.
But I realized you can't just keep asking, or you have to have a sustainable model, right? And so I was really blessed to encounter our first painting. It was created by Duita Ratli, Ibu Olivia's daughter, and I was just amazed by her painting. Again, maybe a part of it was due to my I'm not artistically inclined, and so when you see something, you're like, wow, especially when you can't do it yourself. And I was like, why is it just confined into the perimeters of their room? Why are we not, sharing it with the public? And Duita Ratli, she actually wanted to share it, right? But she didn't have that self-efficacy and confidence too. And so that was actually what instigated our business model, which is to transpire their paintings, their crafts into merchandises so that we can publicize that to the entire public for them to realize that they have potential, they have talents, while simultaneously raising funds to help their medical bills and daily essential needs.
So this is what, when you were 14 or 15?
Yes, 14,
by then.
2018.
So when did it start to become, is it a proper foundation now? Is it a proper, in a way you can legitimately raise funds, so to speak, and then allocate the funds to where it's supposed to go? Yeah.
So we're not a yayasan registered because there's a rule you have to be 18 years old, and I'm not yet.
Young.
Yes, but we're essentially a nonprofit. I think through this, we allocate the funds entirely of our profit for individuals with Down syndrome and Yayasan Batats. Why we don't give our entire revenue is because we want to be sustainable organizationally too. We want to, I intend to keep this going years ahead, decades. So.
Absolutely. So the main objective of your movement or your effort is what exactly?
Yes.
Is it also to educate, or is it to just fundraise for their welfare? And how many of our Down syndrome friends are we talking about? I mean, at least up to now, because it's been like a couple of years now, this movement.
So there's two main pillars of our organization. The first one is to raise awareness, which is, introducing their talents, their potential into the public eye, into the public scene. The second pillar is to raise funds, because we need to have something tangible, right, to help them.
Absolutely.
And so that is through the allocations of our profit to help their daily essentials and such. But I think with the accumulation of this, we've worked with over 300 individuals with Down syndrome and their families.
300?
Yes, we had.
All over Indonesia or mainly in Jakarta?
Yeah, so we're really blessed to be able to partner with the Yayasan Batats. And so that adjacency just helped us grow. We had this virtual painting competition, involving over 300 families all over Indonesia, all over the islands, from Kalimantan to Java to Bali. That's not an island, but yeah. And through this, we really got to connect with them, but also spread this nationally, right? So that was just the main goal of
And that's just within the last couple of years. So it's grown very, very fast. It starts from selling this one painting. I mean, how much do you manage to fundraise for your first proper effort, so to speak? And
so the first painting, we purchased the painting because, of course, we don't just want to take it, right? So we legally purchased the painting, and with their consent, we started the first merchandise line. This first merchandise line, the first steps is never the most successful. We only raised over, I think, 11 million, and that was, in that month, it was mainly my friends. I like
Yeah.
sponsored it to my friends. I used it in school. My teachers were also really supportive. We also broadcasted it to like family, friends. And so just starting from that small bubble, we were able to start the landing ground of our entire efforts.
And what kind of support did you have from the very beginning? I mean, obviously you had, this is pre-COVID. Obviously you have, schoolwork and homework and, how does it all come together? How does it all fit into your life as a teenager who's also probably very busy with exams and studies?
So just like, the saying goes, I'm not just myself, I'm supported by this huge, like army of my families, my mother, my father. They were really supportive from the start. And of course they had their rational questions. You have schoolwork, you have so many other commitments. Are you sure you can do this? Because they don't want this to be a hit and run, a one-time
Always.
charity.
Not sustainable. I mean, you use that word a
We
lot,
want it to be a sustainable movement, right? And so they did give me some fund allocation at the start to help grow this, but it wasn't the main support I received. I think it was emotional. My mom and dad is both in the. My mom is in the entrepreneur field. My dad's in the business, and so they mentored me essentially, right? And so I think it's not technically what they just in theory taught me, but it was just that support, like you can do this. I think entrusting your child with such a project during the early steps when you haven't received achievement is always most important.
Okay, wow. That's amazing. And it's good to have the family support. And I'm sure they're all very excited and very inspired and very moved by what you're doing, as we all are. We take a little break, Haris, but we will come back. Jadi jangan kemana-mana dulu, tetaplah bersama Insight with Desi Anwar. Insight with Desi Anwar, kita masih berbincang bersama Charis Miharja, founder dari organisasi Nirlaba Charis Cares yang sangat menginspirasi untuk membantu teman-teman Down Syndrome. Yang lebih menginspirasi lagi, Charis ini masih belia sekali, usianya 17 tahun dan organisasinya sendiri dimulai pada tahun 2000, akhir 2017 ya, 2018. Jadi ketika masih sangat-sangat muda, waktu itu masih 14 tahun usianya. Tapi sekarang sudah membantu, tadi disebutkan lebih dari 300 dari teman-teman Down Syndrome seluruh Indonesia. Dan tujuan dari organisasinya ini, gerakan ini adalah untuk membuat kita semua paham ya mengenai tantangan yang dihadapi oleh teman-teman kita yang memiliki Down Syndrome, dan juga untuk fundraising supaya bisa membantu untuk memberikan atau memperbaiki juga welfare mereka atau kesejahteraan mereka. Charis, you mentioned that, in your experience meeting your friends with Down syndrome, they're very talented, right? They have special abilities. Tell me about them. Tell me about some of them that are really, close to you and are very special, which I'm sure they all are.
Very, very special. They have, just as every other human, they have this whole multiverse of talents, very diverse. For example, Effie, she has an affinity for dancing, body movement. Ratli, like mentioned, she loves painting. And then we have Irfan, he loves to be like a coffee connoisseur. So they all have their respective talents, right? But of course, in terms of as an organization, we focus on artistic, because a lot of them have like drums and such, but I feel like to amplify the voice right now, we want to focus on the artistic medium first, so we can really, transpire it to something tangible and share it with the public eye.
And now raising awareness, when you mentioned it's an important part of your organization, the whole movement, so that it's just not kept within the families, but us in the broader society can also empathize, understand, and also help them in any ways we can. But what sort of message would you like to tell people about our friends with Down syndrome? What is it that we need to know? What is it that we all need to be educated about?
So I give two main advice and message for the public eye. The first one is to recognize them. I feel like in a world that's always constantly moving, we have to take a step down and really realize the people around us, the one who, are the constituents of our society. And so they have to start to open their eyes and ears to actually listen to them. Especially, I know that, in this society, words is so important.
Yes.
But
especially
and-
with the social media, people
Exactly.
can say such mean things.
Yeah, and we have this tendency to hierarchize vilification instead of truly understanding, right? And so I think the first step is to realize that they're here with us. That's so easy to do, but it's so often overlooked. Just realize that they're here.
They're not invisible.
They're not invisible.
And
They're equal parts of our society. And the second is to not pity them. A lot of people then, after recognizing, they think, oh, I feel, kasiyan banget, ada Down syndrome. That doesn't help at all. First of all, they can hear us. They can register social cues. If we're taking pictures of them to upload and say, I feel bad, that doesn't help at all. We have to truly cultivate the sense of empathy, not pity. So empathy is putting ourselves in their shoes, right? What would we want others to treat us like if we're in their current situations, or what can we do to help them? It's not, oh, they need help. That's the huge difference. And I think that just, that disparity is what we have to bring clarity to, right? And then the third one, I know I said two, but there is a third one. After you realize that we can't just pity them, help raise awareness, help spread the word. And you can do this through a lot of avenues. First of all, you can make sure that the way you act reflects what is needed. So don't just say it with your words, but really internalize it and really share it by setting yourself as a role model. So when you meet someone with Down syndrome, don't scour away, or don't look at them
don't show pity.
Yeah,
show them
don't.
the same respect.
Exactly.
They are,
Treat them
they're human
equally.
beings with just different abilities.
Exactly.
And some of them have even talents which most of us don't have. Like, for example, for the fundraising, it's, their creativity can actually be something that we all enjoy and
Correct.
Appreciate, right? And so far, since the inception of your movement, I know it's rather crude talking about money, but how much funds have you actually raised up to now through their artistic efforts?
So we've been really blessed to be able to receive a lot of funds from this and generate a lot of sales. The precise amount, since I'm quite young and I guess I don't want to be the sole responsible one for accounting, because it's an important part
Yes,
of
course. Transparency is
So
also
I do
very
have to get back to you on terms of that, because Tante Sinja is on the accounting side, but we'd love to definitely update you on that.
But you have raised obviously a significant amount of funds, and it's been used for what?
So we're allocating it for individuals with Down syndrome and BOTAS, which they have been using to fund medical bills, especially in the pandemic. We have to really realize that a lot of our friends with Down syndrome, they do naturally need more attention, not only emotionally, but making sure that they can operate their house, just doing the mundanities of life that we take for granted. And so a lot of the parents, especially the ones from low-income families, they can't afford to hire care,
extra
nannies.
help. Yeah.
And so they do have to quit their jobs to help assist to their children's needs, right? And so we're definitely focusing on them to help just fund daily necessities and needs. And we also had this campaign with UNICEF. I know the exact amount because I'm the one who, we really championed that campaign. But we were able to raise over 68 million for UNICEF, because I think the idea for that is it's not for our friends with Down syndrome, but we want to make it known that our friends with Down syndrome want to contribute to the social field. So that donation, that 68 million, was not to help Down syndrome, but it's our way to say that they're not just helpless and
they
passive
can also
receivers.
contribute.
They
That's
want
amazing.
to be not just passive receivers, but active contributors to society.
That
too.
can pay it forward as well.
Definitely.
Now, you have here some examples of their beautiful, beautiful handiworks. Perhaps you can just
Yes, I'd love to.
show us some of them and who made them. I mean, feel free to get up and
Yes. So
and
this one
tell us about them.
Yes. So this one is the painting of Bagas. We see here still in two-dimensional. This is the actual painting first, and then we have. So as you can see, this is that hat. So we focus on one area and we transpired it to a hat. Same
Sorry,
like
and
here.
who tell us a little bit
Bagas.
about the person, about him who
Yes.
created.
So,
How old is he? And
so Bagas is still 13 years old and he loves to paint. We created this to a tote bag, to hats. Then here we have Azara, we have Yutika, we have Irfan, we have David. And so we don't want to just select, certain people, but we really want to value all paintings. And some people might consider such paintings to be abstract, right? But we feel like that really correlates to the current trends. We don't really want like strict outlines of like colors or these things, like for example, this is our Christmas line, and so it fits to like just playing with colors, and we don't tweak anything. We want to keep it, unapologetically.
so this is their original
Yes.
creations.
Correct.
Basically. Okay. And did you just encourage them to just use your creativity, or do you tell them we will sort of convert this into merchandise and souvenirs, or?
Yeah, so we hold an annual virtual painting competition
I see.
where our friends with Down syndrome, they know of the objective and they're really excited for it to be featured. Of course, for example, we need to have a theme because a lot of them grapple with abstract ideas and it's really difficult to decipher what they should paint, right? And so for example, this is a picture of a chromosome. This is actually badges like for breast care awareness.
That's right, it's like ribbons.
Yeah. And we also hear these are chromosome. And so Down syndrome, also known as trisomy 21, chromosomal disorder. So we wanted to emphasize on that. And then we have the nature scene. It was the flora theme.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Maybe we can have one close up.
This one is the flora theme, and so, just really realizing that we're in a critical stage of climate change and such, we want to emphasize on the importance of nature. And so this is drawn by one of our friends. Same with this, he took a rather more abstract approach, but it's still equally just very representative of the colors of nature. And so we formulated it to different merchandise so that high quality lifestyle merchandise so that everyone can use and access.
Okay, so from one painting you can actually transform them into different things like caps and bags and totes and tumblers as well. Wow, so who does them? I mean, you have people creating these things?
Yeah, so I do the initial. Sorry.
Okay. Why don't you come sit down? Maybe we can talk about this in the next segment because they are absolutely beautiful. The colors are vivid, and there would be wonderful items to have, and I encourage everybody else to have them. So we have another little break, but we will continue this discussion. Jadi tetaplah bersama kami. Insight with Desi Anwar akan segera kembali. Kembali bersama Insight with Desi Anwar. Tidak banyak orang yang mampu memutuskan untuk terjun langsung dan memberi bantuan nyata untuk teman-teman dengan Down syndrome. Tapi ada Charis Miharja, masih usianya sangat muda tapi sudah berkecimpung dan melakukan sesuatu dengan hasil yang nyata. Dan salah satu dari usahanya itu adalah memproduksi karya-karya yang luar biasa, cantik-cantiknya yang dihasilkan oleh teman-teman Down syndrome, dan kemudian ini dijadikan semacam merchandise atau souvenir atau barang-barang yang kita semua bisa beli, bisa nikmati, dan tentu saja hasilnya nanti untuk membantu khususnya keluarga mereka, karena banyak sekali ya tantangan. There's a lot of challenges for families with children with Down syndrome. Maybe you can share some of this with some of the families, the parents that you've met with. What have they shared with you about the challenges of helping and living with Down syndrome children?
So definitely from the onset of the birth, it comes to for a lot of them, they publicly acknowledge that it's a shock to receive such news. It's not a burden, but it's a responsibility. And they know that it taxed more responsibility, especially for families with low income where access to medical bills, it's not easy to fulfill, right? And so a lot of them just grapple with that. I think in terms of the tangibilities, finance is a huge part of it. And on the other hand, there's that emotional side. How can they sustain themselves emotionally while also making sure that their kids thrive emotionally too? And so a lot of them is not, it's not, their feelings is not rather internal, like, oh, my kid is Down syndrome. They're not embarrassed. It's not normally that. But seeing the public perception of their kids with Down syndrome often takes such an emotional toll on them. Just as we really care about our friends and our loved ones, seeing them get hurt is often the worst kind of feeling, even worse than when it happens to us, right? And so a lot of the parents, they don't feel pity for the kids, but they feel as if they want to do so much more for them, but the public doesn't necessitate that. And so the solution isn't something that, oh, you can take a pill and it'll be solved. It's a societal construct, right? And so it really depends on us as the perpetrators of these stigmas to help deal with it, because that's the medicine. It's not something that we can purchase and suddenly heal.
Are you yourself, I mean, you're still very young, but I see that you're really passionate about this. You yourself doing research on the Down syndrome itself. You're talking to experts, to medical experts, and finding out as much about it.
Yes, so I think research is such an important field, and I've consulted, for example, Dr. Komaira. She's one of the doctors in Potats, and I just talked to her about, how are the kids' psychological well-being affected? We often don't realize that when we take pictures of them or,
yes,
just
it's
stare
very
into them,
insensitive, and it's just not nice.
Yeah, they know the feeling, and so I consulted her about it, right? Like, it's like such a huge problem, and how can we address and be for them psychologically, but also on a more societal and infrastructural side. We strategized, and just have discussions with UNICEF, for example, Cord Life, one of the professor, Wildan Hakim. And so I generally just want to know, in terms of society, what is the problems going around right now, which is why this is so fascinating, which is why I want to take sociology in the future to learn about this. Why are some communities more marginalized than others? What causes it? Institutionally.
Like you said, also, I think a lot of it's education, and also perhaps culture as well, because you mentioned in Australia when your mother worked at KFC, they were actually allowed, they were given opportunities to work and to be amongst the rest of the people and have their, they can earn a living, so to speak. Now, obviously, the movement is getting bigger. They're now, you have merchandises and everything. Before we go into the technicalities of where we can get these souvenirs from and how you distributing them, who's been helping you other than obviously your parents and your family, but who've been your mentors, so to speak? Do you have good support in that direction?
This is so important. I want to give all credibility to them. They deserve that credit. So we have a really humble team of just 5 of us. Tanta Fita, Tanta Sanja, they all really help. For example, Tanta Fita is in sales and marketing.
These are your families, or
accounting. No, it's actual staffs, and they've been so helpful. So we also work with seamstresses. So a lot of them have been laid off from factories, especially mass ones, on the onset of the pandemic. And so we wanted to really reevaluate our beneficiaries, not only Down syndrome, but how can we strategically work with seamstresses who've been laid off and empower them economically. And so we have subcontracts with them. And
how many seamstresses?
So we work currently with 13 seamstresses, 13. Women seamstresses. And so they've been helping, craft these beautiful craftsmanships. And I think it's all because of them, and I'm so grateful for them.
Yeah, and we have also, there's a fan there, and there's a mask and a mug even. Where can we buy them? Where can we get hold of them? Do you have a platform for all this, Karis?
Yes, so we started off just Instagram, millennial way, and then we expanded to like Tokopedia. So online, in this fourth industrial revolution, that's
Yeah.
so important, right? But also, Pa Handaka from Sogo have been really kind to us and really finding value in this movement, and he's been an advocate for it. So now we have physical store establishments in Sogo, Plaza Senayan, and Gallery Lafayette in Pacific Place. So, as we transition hybrid back to like real life, you can either order and support our friends with Down syndrome through online, which I also help reply and deal with complaints and such, but also
Do you have your own website? Is there a website for this, or
Yeah,
is it
so
still on
we're-
IG?
we're still growing the website because we realize sometimes people, especially in Indonesia, the market is not really flourishing in terms of website. We love, tap and
Yeah.
buy, like
Social,
Tokopedia,
yes.
Instagram, right?
Absolutely.
But yeah, you can also, again, visit Sogo, Gallery Lafayette to see it yourself, explore the different plethora of merchandises. So that's the
And
two ways.
they're absolutely beautiful. In terms of the number of products, I mean, there's quite a lot. I mean, you've grown them over the years. I mean, what else are you going to make in the future? I mean,
So we're-
you're wearing a scarf. That's lovely.
Yes, this
Okay.
is the creation of Azara. Definitely have to rep them. So we have a huge range of merchandises, and we adapt to not only trends but necessities. So for example, on the onset of the pandemic, we created masks, umbrellas. It was raining season. We also created, tote bags, so it's more portable and it can fit a lot of stuff. For example, it's not there, but we have a bag that you can hold like hand sanitizer, mask, and everything in one. And you can wash tote bags, right? So
Okay.
if you're cautious and hyper vigilant with the virus, that's another way. But
It's
yeah,
a must-have these days.
Must-have.
Okay, we'll take another little break. We still have one more segment to go. Jadi jangan kemana-mana dulu, tetaplah bersama Insight with Desi Anwar. Kami akan segera kembali. Iya, saya bersama Karis Miharja, gadis yang masih sangat muda namun sangat menginspirasi, dan kalau tidak salah sudah banyak sekali penghargaan yang diberikan kepadanya, termasuk dari Her World Indonesia dan juga ada dari APEC ya, Best Business tahun 2020 for Social Impact. But Karis, the way I see it also, not only you are creating social impact, you are helping those with Down syndrome, but I see you also very business savvy. And I think this is an important aspect because you mentioned about sustainability. At the end of the day, if you cannot make it sustainable, then it's going to be difficult to carry this movement forward. So tell me, what are your plans for the next 5-10 years ahead? What do you want to see out of this movement at Karis Cares?
In terms of sustainability, I've mentioned about organizationally, financially, but also, the increasing need to address climate change. So we've also partnered with factories where they have leftover cloth and just materials that we can, have a circular economy to help make our merchandises. So that's also important. But also for future plans, we will continue this business side of the project because this is, again,
Yes,
a very...
it's the lifeblood,
Yes.
basically, of the movement.
We're not going to abandon it at all, but I do find the need to extend from it, right? And so we are actually starting this program where we want to focus on giving career and internship opportunities for individuals with Down syndrome. So we want to empower them not only through funding them or raising awareness, but actually, giving them the opportunity to be integrated in the workforce. So we've actually partnered with Potats a couple years back. They had internship opportunities in our national airlines, Garuda Indonesia, where in Terminal 3, they were the ones greeting guests. And now we have also, helped them get into the field of R&B serving waitress. Ibu Nur Asiana Uno, she's also offered
Yeah.
a spot in her Noor's Corner where they are offered to be sales assistants. And so we find it's so critical to empower them in terms of career,
Yeah.
because we look at them as kids. A lot of people think they're just forever kids, but
But they are growing up.
they're growing up.
Yeah.
Some of the people here are like 30 years old, 40 years old.
And they can contribute and they can do
yeah.
things.
And
yeah.
so we're actually really excited to partner with Ibu Rina Zut. She's one of the G20 representatives, a huge, women empowerment advocate, to start this platform where we can help them not only be wage workers but also job creators.
Yeah, and also gives them a certain amount of independence as well,
Yes.
which is very, very important now. Karis, I think what you're doing is absolutely amazing, and I think it's also important for us to support it. But how has it been? What is it? What has support been? What has been feedback? Are people interested in buying the products? Are people sort of getting more understanding about the plight of those with Down syndromes? Are you seeing, more empathy and compassion, going up throughout the last few years that you've been focusing on this?
That's what I love about having a business, because you can see, their response, their actual response. And we have so many second and third buyers. They always return to help. And not only, the thing is, they don't only buy this to help raise awareness, but also to realize, just truly realize of their potential.
Yeah,
So
and
it's
because
not,
they are beautiful
Yeah.
products. I'm just looking at this mask. This is, who's this by?
That is by David.
David. Okay. Oh yes, this is so every article has a little story
Yes.
behind it.
We're an amplifier of stories. That is what life is about, sharing stories, just like what you do, which I so admire. But yeah, so in every purchase, we have a card telling about their hobbies, what they enjoy doing, right? And so just putting them in that public spotlight with their consent, of course. So it's not only
Yeah, and also it's just
Yeah.
to give, names and faces behind these products. So these are really, really special things to have. They're not just, your another bag that you buy from a shop, but there is a lot of story behind it, and the proceed goes to the Down Syndrome Foundation. And that scarf, like I mentioned, it's by Azara,
Azara.
and it's absolutely lovely. So once, you are 17 now, you're still at school. Okay, and you'll be graduating next year, and I
Yes.
think your whole life is still ahead of you, and so much impact already. You'll be going to England, if I'm not mistaken. You'll be receiving the Diana Award. Tell me about just being recognized for what you do. How does it make you feel? I'm proud just seeing it. How does it? Is this something that creating a shift in you, or making you see things that, oh yes, I can do this and contribute more?
So I'm just really grateful and overwhelmed with all the recognition and accolades that we've been bestowed, but I don't see it as, Karis Maharja. It really is Karis Cares. And that distinction is so important to make, because as I'm receiving this award, like attending the event in London this December, it's not for me, it's I'm bridging and I'm representing all the entire Down syndrome community here, right? So I shoulder its responsibility, and not only appreciation, but I see every opportunity as another door to help amplify their voice. So like the APAC Best Award, for example,
Yeah.
are like one of the earliest ones, right? I was shivering because there were so many strong women entrepreneurs throughout Asia Pacific.
You were the youngest, right?
Yes, yeah.
My goodness.
And that was one of the first like professional events. But I realized that it's so much more than my nerves. This is the way. This is like an open door for me to share about their stories and to just continue to share.
And we're all very proud. I'm sure your parents are your family is extremely, extremely proud of you. But just share with us a little bit. You mentioned you want to now focus on giving them career options, and also this is investment for their future as well. Your future, you said you want to do sociology, go to university. How do you see your life, your big vision? ahead of you? Is this going to be something that you do for the rest of your life, or will you actually extend your social impact to other areas, do you think?
100%. I'm going to continue this for as long as I can, which is one of the reasons why I'm pursuing sociology. It's not a norm to pursue sociology.
Yes, no, everybody wants to do IT and coding.
My cousin
and
takes
business.
my parents, business, econ, right?
Yeah.
But then I realized, do I want to climb power in Wall Street's Goldman Sachs, or do I want to help, which I think the best avenue for me is sociology. I'm not dismissing the importance of other majors. I think whether you do engineering or business, you can still help other people through it. But I think for me personally, sociology is the way to go. Just starting to analyze different policies and, structural integrations of why some communities are suffering more than the others. I hope to, see it as my start in the battlefield of real life. I know I'm already immersed in real life, but I think as you grow up, you start to realize that you shoulder this responsibility. That news on our phone, that's not just another story, right? It's the fate of another human soul. And so I think just constantly reading news. I love the world of problems. We live in a world of problems. And so why I'm hyper focused on problems is because through that we can find solutions. And so sociology really microscopically sees all the problem, right? And so that's just the way I think is best for me to come up with, to continue to come up with solutions.
That's absolutely amazing. So you can actually be there helping, not only having social impact, but also in creating policies that are, good, that are a force of good. After your graduation, any particular profession that you are you thinking that far ahead, Caris?
Yes, I'm looking to work, hopefully in the United Nations and the public-private sectors that really focuses on social work entirely. So look out for that.
I'm sure the world will be the richer for it. And, if I see the future with young people like you, Caris, and we've seen so many amazing young people out there fighting for climate change. We have Greta Thunberg, and then we have somebody like you who are really making a difference even at a very, very young age. It's absolutely inspirational. It's absolutely amazing, and I think we're all very much in support. Congratulations again with your awards and your Diana Award. Just very quickly, what sort of message would you like to give to our viewers, particularly when it comes to raising awareness about Down syndrome?
I think raising awareness and changing the world are two very cliche terms, and that's so important, but we have to localize how are we going to do it. And so I think the first step to it is to recognize everyone really as equal partners in the world. We encounter 80,000 humans throughout our life. That's like the rough statistics. We meet 80,000 people. So just reevaluate the conduct of our life and see, how am I benefiting that 80,000? Am I making their life harder than it already is? Or are we trying to just be a light in their lives? And so whatever that avenue is, shining the light, it doesn't mean you have to pursue sociology or work in the UN. There's so many other avenues like Ibu Anwar, by amplifying the voice and here. And so there's other career opportunities, so many ways that you can contribute. So just take that first step and believe in yourself, and make sure to remember that, life is so much bigger than just for ourselves. So in whatever you do, think about that 80,000 people that you will encounter and get to tap in your life.
That's wonderful. Caris, thank you so much. It's been
Thank you so much.
So much pleasure having you here, and then we will continue to support you, obviously, and good luck in the future, and also good luck with everything, your education, your bright future ahead of you, and do some more good.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and stay safe. Ya, demikian Insight with Desi Anwar kali ini. Jangan lupa Anda juga dapat menyaksikan tayangan ini di cnnindonesia.com dan di YouTube CNN Indonesia, Insight with Desi Anwar. Kita masih dalam suasana pandemi, jadi jangan lupa jaga jarak, rajin cuci tangan, pakai masker, dan tentu saja hindari kerumunan. Sampai jumpa, stay safe, bye-bye.